What we're saying then, John, welcome to Mastering Business Growth. This is the show where I speak to people who are doing well in business and find out what they're doing, how they're making money. So please, let's start with who you are and what you do.
Yeah, I'm John Butler. I'm the CEO and founder of Trunk BBI.
Lovely.
We're a performance and creative agency. In fact, that's what we call ourselves. We bring the best of a performance marketing agency and creative resources like production crews and web development and bring it all under one roof to help our clients get leads.
That sounds great. So give me some tangible examples of what you do. What kind of clients you're working with? What sort of projects?
I always laugh because it's so varied.
Right, yeah.
So it's probably a strength and a weakness at times. But one of our big clients is Green King pubs. So at the minute they were in the office last week and we were planning all around the Six Nations activation with Guinness. So working with Diageo and Green King to help make sure that those Six Nation matches are a massive footfall event for Green King pubs. So that will be creating games for their app, to creating film assets that can be used on social media, and then also covering those events through social as well and managing that organic channel. So yeah.
My God.
That's one.
Yeah, wow. Do you know what? I always wonder because we've done a similar thing. We've gone to a pretty much just set product service package, if you will, going from a similar world of bespoke projects, custom this, custom that, and it's a nightmare pricing it all up. How do you even begin that kind of thing?
Pricing, I think, is really difficult, isn't it? Because I don't think anyone has ever really mastered pricing 100%. I remember my mum saying that to me, and she said no one ever gets pricing right. And she's going back years and years ago. But I think if you can demonstrate value to people, then that almost takes that pricing conversation to a different level.
Yeah, of course.
So when you get into the rounds of people penny pinching and arguing through lists of, why are we doing this? Why are we doing that? You're kind of missing the point, and you need to almost go a step behind that and look at their business objectives and say, we're going to produce this and these are the outcomes. And if you understand their outcomes, that pricing bit sometimes I think gets a little bit easier.
Yeah. So you have to get people to the point where they're actually thinking, do you know what? I just trust these guys. They're not going to take the piss sort of thing. Yeah. They're going to do it right. And then
I think if I see value, then I think it doesn't really matter too much. But we've been through this process at work, and you'll always get the salesperson. I'm a salesperson too by trade as well as the CEO, and salespeople always bring back pieces of one work that haven't been costed or can do, and that just really annoys everyone internally back at the office. So it's really important that you try and involve people too, and make sure that the heads of departments and that are quoting jobs. We've done a lot of these types of jobs too, so you can normally say, look at the last three, that's potentially what that's going to cost as well. When we're talking about types of work and I'm talking about the differences, I've got another client called Gallagher. So I don't know if you've ever heard of him. I'd never heard of him, so literally had no idea who they were. But they're the world's third biggest insurance broker.
Oh, right.
So big American company, but they're all over the world. We won the UK and EMEA account from them. So that's a really nice piece of work. That's all about lessening their dependencies on aggregators and lead gen providers and sourcing their own leads directly. So that's a really nice piece of work, more performance marketing focused with conversion rate optimization and a bit of UX work around their websites.
What exactly do you do for them then? Just walk me through it from top to bottom.
So we'll typically look at an insurance product. They've got lots of specialty brands, and they've also got their own Gallagher brand, but they've got lots and lots of different insurance products right the way through to from bespoke B2B products where they'll insure a oil rig or something like that to a block of a high-rise block of flats in Manhattan, right the way through to us that are typically helping them with more productized insurance offerings that you buy typically online. So motor trade insurance, holiday home insurance, those kind of products are a little bit more niche, so not going up against your direct lines with home and car, but classic car maybe, for example, areas where they've got a good chance of trying to rank.
I got you. So, I mean, it's quite common to get companies who do like, the creative stuff. Certain agencies will do that specifically. Some will do your marketing and all that. How did you meld the two together? Which one did you start with first, or did you have the idea to put it all under one roof first?
Quite interesting. When I was setting up the business, I'd been working client side before, so take you back to the beginning of my career. I had an LC2 computer put in front of me, which is an old Apple Mac at the age of 14. My dad was an illustrator and my mum was a typographer, and they're kind of dying. Well, I think both those job roles are almost obsolete in the ways that they did them anyway. My dad was a magic marker man, really. I think you'd use a Wacom tablet now and what have you. And my mum was a typographer, which was basically positioning type. So I had that kind of embedded into me, and I wasn't very good at academic stuff anyway. So I was more creative, and I was streetwise, but I wasn't going to sit there and revise all night. So, I kind of went to agencies, enjoyed life as well when I was young, went to agencies, and then went and worked for a friend of mine who was an entrepreneur, and he ended up having a Fast Track 100 business, which is part of Times. The Times do it every year. I don't know if you've ever seen it. You get like the tech track and export track. Really successful business. I got to work there, and I got to work on lots of different things, but I was a graphic designer by trade at uni, and I could design pretty well, but not as well as any of the guys that work for me now. I learned that lesson: employ people better than you. I got into design, but I also got exposure to creating TV commercials. It was right at the start of the internet too, and going to show my age here, but early 2000s, when actually performance marketing was taking off, PPC was happening. SEO was the thing, and back in those days, Google would give you kickbacks for your spend on PPC and what have you if you're an agency. So yeah, we're going right back, and there was Matt Cutts who would try and stop everyone always trying to spam Google to death with SEO hacks. So interesting times, but I got a lot of exposure to a lot of different channels. I think that's where my initial interest came from, because when I set up the business, I had work straight away, but I had branding projects and web development projects. And these people that were coming to me were going, I've got $5,000 a month to spend on SEO. I've got £3,000 a month to spend on PPC management and a 30 grand PPC budget. Do you know anyone? And I was kind of like, yeah, I know that guy. And it happened a couple of times, and I thought, I'm missing a trick here, because with that retained revenue, that's going to give me that predictability on money coming in, but also give me that platform to grow. So I very quickly teamed up with a few people that I used to work with, and just started making sure that I could get those SEO and PPC accounts on board as it was in the earlier days, and make sure that not only was I doing the brilliant first bit of working with them and creating this brand, I was actually making sure that brand then went on and worked into the future.
That's fascinating, because in the B2B space, people have to be able to clearly communicate an ROI on their service. So it must be nice that you can say, right, we're going to create you this, whatever this creative of whatever this ad, this advert, and we're going to make damn sure the right people are seeing it. Yeah. Are many companies doing that?
Not many, and we don't do it with a lot of our clients. So we'll do both, but some clients will buy just the film production. So for example, Green King, for example, have a paid media agency that's contracted to them. We can do bits of paid media work, but we'll create a lot of that content. We'll work on the app. We get to see all the results there. We'll manage the social though. So yeah, it's sometimes it's a little bit disjointed. Our perfect client is when we can do everything and you can link the two. Yeah. And the more you invest in creative, the more you can see it works. It's not just as wanting to spend more money, but there's actually a tangible link to more creative thought process going into it, better results.
Of course. Well, I was thinking just there when you said, is there conflict that ever comes up when someone's like, you're working with a different agency who's contracted to do the marketing, and they ever go, and you need to do it more like this, but you find it's obviously super smooth when you're able to, because you have the full bird's eye view of what you do, and you go, right, we're going to create this because we know we're going to run this kind of ad on it. What's the deal with that?
I think sometimes you've just got to do the work that you get briefed on, which we always try and question the brief from a creative perspective. But if someone's already done the strategic insight piece, sometimes you've just got to execute and deliver on that.
Got you.
And you can still have great fun doing that as well. I think the creative still can push that boundary of the creativity side of it. I think the true magic happens when you own all of it and the whole of a journey, because you're then answerable to the final results completely, and there's no finger pointing between agencies.
Yeah, but you like backtrack as well. Like, oh, do you know there's a problem here? We're bottlenecking there. We can go right back to the source and just quickly make this tweak.
Absolutely. And I think that's where we've seen good results there. We've creative is brilliant. When you look at Meta, it's over half of everything now. I think obviously they've got the machine learning and the algorithms and AI, but it's creative now, but ultimately will help Meta pick its audiences and choose who to target as well. So we're seeing a lot of people actually realise that creative is really important to invest in.
Got you. Did you ever personally do any filming and stuff, or was it just graphic design? You realised, it's just one form of media.
Yeah.
And you learned how to sell that, and you're like, I can't do these other things, but I know how to sell them. Or what's the deal? At what point did you realise I need to start finding people who can create all these other creative assets?
Well, Joe, I'm going to be really honest as well. I had to find someone that was better at me than graphic design.
Yeah.
Always employ people better than you. I think I've worked in it for about 3 years, but you pick wearing so many hats when you set up a business too. And there's a lot better people than me at graphic design. So, and it's not even a thing really now, is it? Graphic design. I'm sounding very old here.
Less so.
Digital designer.
We got Canva.
Yeah, digital designer. And we've got brilliant people now. And I think that was it. The film piece came along. Adam, who is one of my partners that works with me, really good guy, had said we're missing a trick with film work, and a lot of agencies outsource it. And we'll use a production company. We've decided to bring that production company in-house because we can get a film crew out in a couple of days and be on that shoot, and we can turn around content really quickly. And I think not everything is a TV advert nowadays. Yeah, we can produce TV adverts, but actually there's content that's needed for social and various other channels. And sometimes that reliance is on the final output is something that is going to be a piece of content that we hear today, gone tomorrow. So, yeah, it's being able to scale up and be really flexible and have that agility.
Did you intentionally think, right, I want to be a businessman, an entrepreneur, whatever word you want to give it? Because I've noticed similar background, creative. I was a musician and all that thing. And then one thing led to another. Next thing I was running a studio. The next thing I'm, just a businessman sort of thing. And that was certainly not my intention to begin with, but I just got more interested in how that all works. And you get a lot of creatives and a lot of freelancers out there. They don't give a shit about running a business. They're not interested in it. Yeah. They're no good at money or organising bigger projects and all that. So I would say I'm in the same bucket as you, and it's a fairly rare breed. Did you want to run a business, or did you just think I have a better way to do this?
I was thinking about this before we were going to speak today, and I was trying to trace back what got me into business. And I was always, when I was young, I was a bit of a cheeky chappy, and I was always up to no good trading football stickers, selling sweets and, doing things. So I think I must have had a bit of an entrepreneurial side to me. But yeah, I was always good. Like, we had a gang, and I was like the leader.
Yeah.
But this gang is not like, this gang is middle class gang.
Yeah, I got
There's, it's just like a group of kids basically at a park. Yeah. I'm trying to make myself out to be something that I'm not.
No, but you always, it was instinctive for you to be like, right, I know what we need to do. I know which way we need to row, and people were happy to.
Yeah, I think somehow I could attract people and they'd listen to me.
That's great.
Yeah, I think it kind of came along. I worked client side for years and worked at agency. I think the big catalyst for me of kickstarting my career was when I heard I was expecting a child and thought, well, I need to actually start kicking on a bit here and being in control of my own destiny a little bit more. So, yeah, probably spent some good years enjoying myself when I was younger, but, yeah, then started going into the world of management a little bit more and could communicate and had good relationships with people and, yeah, managed to take it on board some aspects of management that probably still even now I could do with improving on. I think we've never kind of fulfilled that journey of learning and growth as a person. But yeah, on the whole, I seem to be a good guy and people like working with me.
Do you know, I've wondered this because like one of the things I've noticed about myself is I'm I'm driven and I'll work hard, but I'm also lazy. And I think a lot of the reason I work hard is because I'm determined to find a quick and easy way to do things. And I think this about leaders in general. If they've got the same sort of trait where it's like, it's noble to hire someone better than you, but is it actually secretly because, I'll get them to do it instead? Or is it a mishmash of two? What are your thoughts on that?
Ooh, do you know what I think?
I'm not accusing you there. I'm asking what you think.
Right, okay. Lie detector out. No, this is the truth. I honestly think that if you can work out a way of doing something with the least possible effort, that's the definition of intelligence, I think, in the dictionary. So,
is that actually what it is?
I think so. I think it's very similar to that. Maybe, but I think it is. Getting to the end means with the least possible effort, or least resistance. Yeah. So I think hiring people better than you is always going to give your clients a better end product, so they're going to be more happy than if you did it, so they're ultimately going to spend more money with you. And you can get people who specialise in one specific thing, because I find this being a small business owner myself, 1 minute I'm a podcast host, next minute I'm the accountant, next minute is, I'm editing somewhere. And I was terrible at accountancy.
Oh man,
terrible. I always forgot to send out the invoices. My clients loved me.
This guy's amazing, doing billers. That's hilarious. So business development specifically, that's something I like to talk about. I'm curious, what are your thoughts on it? How do you go about getting the work in? Where do you even begin?
Oh God, that's a very good question. So where did we begin? I think we grew the business off referrals. And referrals are great if you've got a limited vision of where you want to be, because word of mouth's great and people move jobs and they'll go and plant you into a different business, and hopefully you're doing a good job at where they've left. So you can grow organically, but that pace is never going to get you, depending on your goals, to where I wanted to get the business to and where I want to get it to. I'm still on that mission now. So we've tried lots of different things over the years on new business. I'm sure I'm not on my own there. And I think that's it. Try things and make sure that you give them a good go. I think in the past we've been very knee-jerk, wasted an awful lot of money around new business, I would say.
Can you give me some examples?
Just not managed people correctly when they're in that role, not giving them the right tools. So you could be the best new business person in the world, but if you haven't got the materials and collateral behind you, you're kind of going to fall down.
And what do you think someone needs to be able to do something like that well?
I think they need to know what you need. A really good defined proposition, and you need supporting information, and you need probably people that are going to turn up to that very quick post-qualification call as well to start really planting that seed in. So you've got to be in it. I think also we've tried our own marketing a lot of the times, and people, it's just changed, hasn't it? Like, people do not buy how they used to. It's also a consultative sell and buy from us typically, so it's not that productized. So it's hard to just go and fire out a load of emails and hope that people are going to come and pick up the phone and ring us up.
Yeah, of course.
It's the old analogy of throwing a load of shit at the wall, and it's the cobbler's son's shoes, isn't it? We actually do it for other people, and sometimes we don't practice what we preach.
Yeah.
We've done all right at it. I'm trying to be very honest, and probably doing us a bit of a disservice there, because we've grown to a quite sizable business, but it's not been without a lot of mistakes and pain points on the way. We use intermediaries at the minute as well for quite a bit of our work. So I don't know if you have them or have come across them ever, but they're kind of the middlemen. You probably get them a lot in finance too. So if you're looking for, a loan, you'll end up at an intermediary site. Pretty much these are for CMOs at brands. They'll look and go, right, okay, who am I going to run this pitch process through? Right, these guys are here in the middle. They say they're going to do the shortlist for me. They're not going to charge me any money. They're going to manage the whole process. Why wouldn't I go with these people? Because if it goes wrong, I can probably point the finger at them too. So there's a lot of that in our industry too. So you still need marketing and sales, and they need to be joined together. I think that might be the mistake in the past. Trying to do sales without marketing being aligned is always going to be very difficult.
That is interesting. You said a minute ago about how marketing's different to what it used to be. People that buy the same way they used to. What's the clear difference from, let's say, early 2000s to now? What's the difference? Obviously, excusing the fact that we now have social media.
Yeah.
Because that has, of course, changed everything. You can now reach anyone, anywhere, anytime. But other than that, is there anything like monumentally different in its nature?
I think there's always been loads of noise and lots of people trying to either knock on your door back then or ring your office phone and get past the receptionist, to probably what it is now, which is trying to get into your inbox on LinkedIn to try and stalk you at an event. But I think people buy off people, and that's never changed. I think the thing that's changed is how you get in front of those people and how you almost try and prove and sell that value. So it's definitely the ways that you go around it. And I think people buy off people ultimately. So we've definitely, over the last 3 or 4 years, quite a lot of new business has been done through Teams.
Right.
It's been great in a way. It's kind of cost effective, but I'd always sooner get in the car and drive down the road, see the whites of someone's eyes, get there and do that meeting, because you can just do so much more when you're together with people than when you're too far away from each other and on a Teams call.
I agree. And, it's funny you say that. I have a bit of a theory, and it's not really a theory. It's just what it is. People talk about, is inbound better than outbound? Outbound better than inbound? They're just ways in which you connect the buyer from the seller.
Yeah.
And that's it. After that point, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how you met, so it depends what you're trying to sell. But yeah, it really is about that. Once you've got a relationship in place, whether it's a person-to-person selling a B2B service, or whether it is, trying to get a brand to feel like a person, someone they know, trust, to set, like selling cans of Coke, you know what I mean? It's the same deal. They're just using mass media to connect, make them relate to the brand and all that.
Yeah, I think as well, we're looking at doing something community focused where actually we're not selling and we're just giving value to people, and hopefully then people like us and people come knocking on our door and say, do you know what, thanks for that free workshop you held at your work, we're really interested, we've got a financial services brand, we need help promoting it too, can we have a chat?
I love that, because this has recently become quite clear to me. Again, I would say primarily in the B2B space, but I think it would be relevant anywhere if you structured it right. I don't believe you can sell. Like, it sounds silly because, of course, you can sell. There are sales. Of course, it's a real thing. But I believe people buy what they want, when they want, and there's no magic word you can say that will make someone go, sick, you've cracked the code. Here's £10,000. It's not like that. But I believe you can let people know who you are, what you do, how much it costs, and why it's good for them.
Yeah.
And remind them that you're there, and you can be the first person to think of when they're ready to buy something. So selling, when people go, oh, this guy's great at sales, probably just they're great at meeting people and getting to know people, but there's no magic sales script. And you hear about sales scripts, it's like, it's not a thing. Yeah. It's silly.
Even the old Kirby Hoover salesperson, the Hoover needed to be broken probably, or almost dying. It's all about timing, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, 100%.
So, it's a good analogy too. And you're right, it's that bit of effort. Probably when I look at some of the mistakes we made in the past, it might be speaking to people, having good conversations, but not staying in touch enough and being front of mind.
Yeah, that's exactly it.
Because you've done a lot of the hard work and made a good impression.
And then you just disappeared, did the Homer Simpson into the hedge thing.
Yeah, never see him again. Never speak to him again, never hear from him. So yeah, it's tough. It is a tough gig selling. It is a tough gig, and I think people, you're right, want to sometimes buy you from what they've seen as well, so they still have choice and a selection process too, and they're going to choose. So making sure you've got something a little bit different as well, and you're saying something different to hopefully stand out from the crowd is probably important.
Yeah, I agree. So obviously these concepts that must help a lot when you are making, first of all, the creative for a company, and then amplifying that message to get it to the right people. What is the biggest difference between, say, one company who's trying to sell, I assume you work with some companies that are trying to sell something to thousands of people, and then you do stuff in the B2B space, is that right? So you will make things for B2B companies. What's the difference there? How do you approach those differently?
The bigger the market, the more mathematical and data driven it is.
Yeah.
It still doesn't mean that the content and the creative doesn't have a role to play as well. But I'd definitely say that journey with a B2B, more consultative sale, sometimes you're doing sales enablement and supporting a sales team. So sometimes that is a lot more marketing and sales aligned. Whereas typically when we're selling more B2C products, I'm saying with more mass produced goods, then definitely it's more of a kind of, you understand the market, you understand there's lots of searches there. Typically you're on an auction, so Google, a platform like that, or Meta, and it's maths a lot of the time and just working out what you can afford that sale for.
How much do you need to understand your client and what they're selling? Because you might find, and again, this is a conversation I've had with a lot of people, you might go, right, we can make you these creatives, we can amplify the message, but knowing what you sell, it's going to take 12 months before you can sell anything. Some people, it's like, there's a can of Coke again.
Yeah.
Right, well, you might make some sales tomorrow because of it. But some people, it's like, there's a huge process, a huge journey from initially getting your first ad out. So that's it. Person's seen your brand for the first time ever. And they go, yeah, whatever. See it again. Oh, I've seen that before. And like 10th time or whatever, it's like, yeah, they're them guys. And then, but you'll need to understand every single part of that from your customer's journey. Does that ever become like a big conversation? Is that something you talk about with them?
I think if you get a decent marketer, they're going to understand that expectation. I think that's sometimes the difference as well with more owner-managed businesses too. The expectations might be sometimes a little bit more, not unrealistic, but a little bit more demanding, let's say. I think that decision and buying process and understanding the customer and the persona and the buying habits is really important. We always advocate doing a big strategy piece first and getting under the skin of our client and their customers. And sometimes we'll have a bit of pushback where they say, we know all this. And we're like, yeah, but we don't.
Yeah. That's
and we're doing this. You might know it.
You want us to understand it, right? I'm just confirming with you.
So we might go over old ground and go over and play back that strategy work they've done. We'll never just discount it and throw it away. But 9 times out of 10, there'll be certain aspects and angles that they don't see because we're looking at it through an external lens.
Yeah, that's the thing. You can tell yourself what you want to hear when you're the business owner and be like, no, this definitely works. We know it. Or we hope, and they're sticking with it. But when you have the outside perspective, we used to find out when we were doing music a lot. A lot of time people would and ah about, I don't know about that vocal take. And like, let me tell you as a listener, they all sound the same. Pick one and roll with it. You're getting caught in the weeds here. Indeed. I have a nice detached perspective.
Definitely, you can overthink things as well, can't you? As well,
massively.
But we love that. That's again when I was talking about our perfect client. If we can do the strategy piece as well and understand that customer, it's always going to work a lot better. And if you get a single channel that you can pick up, it's good because you can land and expand and get to know more about that business. But
of course,
perfect client would be someone coming to us and saying, "We've got this objective. We need to get 2,000 leads next month and every month throughout this calendar year. Tell us how we go about it." We can do it the other way around where someone comes to us and goes, actually, we just want you to run a PPC campaign. We've worked all this out. But sometimes, that might not deliver on what they're trying to execute on.
Do you know, is it scary when you take on a project? Because for me, it's a fairly short process. Someone books in, they shoot the podcast, we edit them, off you go, kind of, done. Like it's quite short. It's a small, easy to kind of, that one's done, off it goes. That one's done, off it goes. With you, it sounds massive. For particularly big companies like, is it Green King?
Yeah, Auto Trader,
Trader,
General Electric, Jack Daniels. We've got some big clients, Gallagher Insurance Company, brokers. With any client, we evaluate them and qualify them, and then when we start working with them, we've got to make it work.
Yeah, because it must be such a huge commitment on your end as well to be like, hopefully I like these guys, and I'm assuming you put the groundwork in there to build real relationships before, but, like say for me, it's so quick, and if we do like a one-off project, which we don't do much of anymore, but you can be like, right, oh God, that was awkward, or they were a dick or whatever, but well done, With you, it's going to be years, at
but
least months, right?
We could spend as much time with some of our clients as people spend at home.
Yeah.
So with almost relationships are key and getting on with people, and we've got really strong values, and our clients have got those values too. It's very rarely, but they don't. And I think everyone, when you get under the skin of it, everyone wants the same result. Which is value. I'm going to go back to it. But it is, if we can prove value to them and they give us value, then you have a brilliant relationship. When that balance is not aligned, then things always seem to never last or work out. So I think making sure everyone's got that clear objective. We want to do some great work to get this end result, and we're all bought into it, then we're all kind of swimming in the same direction.
Yeah. Even if it's not formally spoken about, people want to know they can put £1 in and get £10 back, sort of thing. Because there are some companies out there, I've seen this a lot in the B2B world, where they'll talk about what they're doing, that's great. And then when they're done, it's like, sweet, done. It's like, why am I just poorer now?
Yeah.
What happened?
Oh, we've done our hours. Yeah. No, it's not your hours. I'm not buying the hours off you. I'm not buying the outputs. I'm buying the outcome. So that's it, definitely. I think, and if you've got that mentality of just trying to deliver against some set hours, that client's not going to stay with you.
Yeah.
And that client, when they move on somewhere else, and referrals by far the cheapest way of growing a business and putting your effort in, because when you've got an advocate that moves to a new business and will sing your praises, very quickly that will turn into a new client. And you probably, on that pitching and proposal process, you might be up against an incumbent and maybe another agency that brought in, maybe 3-4 more depending on the size of the pitch, but you're probably at about 60-70% chance of winning it if your person is ultimately one of the key decision makers.
Yeah, of course, yeah. So let's talk a bit about operations, as in just what the day-to-day looks like for you, and also let's talk about what it looks like for a client. They've been recommended you guys. What does it look like? The first conversation, how does it go?
So first conversation, is this after this in the qualification process?
Yeah, I guess so, yeah. So you've been introduced to someone's been introduced to you.
We'll typically jump on a call, and I think it's about them. I was presenting to an insurance business the other week, and we were talking, and I was like, I'm not going to talk about we. So many agencies just go on about how many awards they've won.
It's important,
how brilliant they are. It kind of is, but not really.
No, what I mean is it's important to understand that people aren't in the Twitter. They're not interested in you.
Yeah, because every other agency's won an award.
Yeah, most of them, I'm pretty sure they did themselves.
Yes, indeed. And, but it's about them, doesn't it, I think? Yeah. And it's not about them as well. I think I said it was about us. So I think it's not about we. It's not about you. It's about us together, and that's it. And understanding how you both work. And this was probably a final chat to see if we've won this piece of work. We're still finding out at the minute. We're in the last few on the selection process, but trying to be human and understand what they're trying to achieve, and actually looking like you give a shit. Because if you don't, and you're just there, and you can have the gift of the gab, and you can talk all you want, but if they don't think that you're connected and invested in what they're trying to do, I think people pick up on that, and you're not gonna get there. So I always think that if we're going to work with someone, we're going to make sure we run through that wall to make it happen. I think that's a freeze block wall too, so maybe I might walk through the door, but you get the gist.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. All right. So let's say someone's gone, right, sounds great. What's next? Do you talk money then and there, or is that before? How do you go about it? How do you price up a project then? I know we briefly spoke about this, but I assume that's the next step then.
Yeah, depending on if it's existing client, if it's a prescriptive RFP and there's a set budget, sometimes you've always got to answer that RFP and that budget amount. And we've done it in the past where we've said, you could actually do this and spend more money. And they've just been like, oh, you can't get through. You've missed that criteria. I think we can do that project and sell it in. I think you can always say as well, there's another option, or there's another option too. And if money was no issue, or these are the other opportunities available to you, people start listening. And I think if you can get in front of a finance person as well, which sometimes can be the gatekeeper and budget setter and parameter, if you can say, well, if you do this, you might get that back, or you've got more of a chance of getting a better return, people then start thinking, actually, I might do that. So there's a big thing on kind of value pricing. It's a bit of a buzzword, but it's not. Ultimately, it's about everyone trying to understand that business objective and trying to say, well, how do we get to that, instead of people then getting caught in the weeds arguing about hourly rates and things like that are kind of irrelevant to me.
It's too messy, isn't it? Because again, same deal back when it was music in particular, it was, you could not put a price on something. You know, if you get like a deathcore band coming through wanting to do a 10-track album, well, that's a lot more work than like Green Day coming in, you know, like three-piece sort of thing. And you cannot possibly put a price on it. So yeah, when we used to do something pretty similar, I guess, we'd be like, okay, full project description, tell me everything, what we're looking to get. And then you'd be like, all right, I think it's going to take this long based on my experience doing this before. So here's a quote. And oftentimes people be like, it's like, all right, well, what money are you working with? And I'll see what corners we can cut and walk you through it, that sort of thing. Yeah,
but it's nice to play it the other way too, isn't it, as well, and go, actually, you've got this much money, and actually flip it into the opportunity chat. Sometimes you can't, and sometimes you need that revenue potentially because you've got people you employ and they're going to be sat there, and it's better to try and get that client on board and open them out into a bigger, better client.
Yeah, bit of a lost leader move, like just get them in.
Get them in, show them how good you are, but be very clear that you've done this at a discount for them and that you're doing it because you want to work with them and you can hopefully see the future. But again, that's in the qualification of trying to understand if they're ever going to go on to be something bigger and better.
Yeah, and how do you know? Or is it a guess every time?
It's some are a lot. There's always a bit of a judgment call in everything in life, but some are a lot easier to judge on. Yeah, just because you know that they might have run out of budget and they're coming up to a new fiscal year, financial year for themselves. So you might do something at a lower rate because you know that you're going to get that cash back. Or it might be that they don't believe in us, or they're not 100% behind something that you're doing. I mean, in an ideal world, you'd have that much work anyway that you'd say, sorry, that's the price. But sometimes it's not like that.
No, of course. What's it like then? Because I guess based on what you're saying, there's no typical project or typical value of project. And obviously you've got employees, you've got overheads. How on earth do you predict? Or do you just have to make damn sure you're got enough runway at all times sort of thing? Because you don't know month to month, like, oh, well, that project's going to run out. And then, you know, again, back when we were in music, you have crazy good months. Then some like, oh my God, no one's booked anything. That's scary. It's unpredictable.
It is, isn't it? I think we have 3 different types of revenue. So we've got retained revenue, which is contracted. Then we have reoccurring revenue. So some of the bigger companies just won't sign a retainer, but they'll give you money and you'll kind of know the cadence of that roughly and when it's coming in. And then you have project revenue, and I think that's in the valuation of an agency too. The more contracted revenue you've got and reoccurring, the higher the value of that business. So we always try and get at least 40 to 50% of our monthly overheads covered by our contracted work. And then we've got a good understanding of a reoccurring revenue that comes in as well. And then you always have some project stuff, and it can be the difference between having a good month and a average month and a poor month. So up and down, project work definitely, reoccurring revenue a little bit more unpredictable, but that retained revenue kind of gives us a little bit of a sleep at night moment. And we have a cash flow run out sheet that I'm sure there's some software that probably does this, but we keep it in an Excel. It's probably got to be the world's biggest Excel, but has every price going out and every invoice that we know is definitely being sent out, going out on what date we expect the payment in. And it kind of gives us a run out date, which is the
funny that you say expecting payment.
Yes. Yeah, well, I think if you're doing great work and you're doing a good job, most of the time you get that payment.
I've noticed the bigger the company, the harder it is to get money out of them.
Yeah.
There's something about it when you're working with just local someone. It's like, right, give me the money and you've got your project.
Yeah.
Like, all right then, sweet. But then some of the bigger clients, it's like, oh, we have to send it to so-and-so to approve, and then so-and-so, and then...
It's a lot of red tape.
Yeah, so much red tape.
And I think the finance people in those types of organisations are trained to make sure that payments are given at the right time, or maybe a little bit after that time.
Yeah, of course. Well, I'll tell you what, got a little off track there. So let's say someone signed a project, pricing's good. What's next? Again, I know it's going to vary massively because you'd have a typical project there,
onboarding, and that's kind of been done in the sales process as well, because we always make sure the people that are going to work with that client have been involved in the final parts of that sale. So we'll typically have the account director involved at that point, and I call it like the heads of the people, the experts that are going to be working on that project. So hopefully there's that seamless kind of onboarding process. We use Monday.com. So there's all the kind of client onboarding processes set up there. Supplier documents go out. Typically you might have some kind of contract wrangling, scope of works will go out at that point too, because we'll probably have that kick-off meeting and understand massively what that project is, depending on the type of work. Sometimes when we win a piece of work too, there's a minimum and a buffer of price that it could go to, because you never know what might come out of the woodwork when you actually start sitting there, and what might come out of the woodwork, but what opportunities are there too to add a bit of extra functionality or create something slightly different and better.
Got you. And then you will start building the creative, whatever it may be.
Yeah.
And what's that like?
That's God, it might have changed a lot since I was involved in any of those projects.
Well, that's it. That might be a dumb question because I don't know what your day-to-day involves.
Yeah, my day-to-day is, I think whenever I go in the studio, everyone shuts their computers down and minimises them. But I don't do any day-to-day work anymore, really.
Yeah.
Apart from probably client relationship stuff with some of our key accounts, dealing with quite a few of our key suppliers, driving our B Corp initiative, and upholding our values, and just getting out and being a little bit of a face of the business.
Got you. Yeah, necessary step, especially now.
Yeah, so we've got an MD underneath me, and then we've got Chief Creative Officer, we've got a Performance Director, Strategy Director.
So you've got an advanced version of what you used to be, covering every...
Yes, pretty much.
Sounds like the dream.
And I think when I was doing it way back when, it was probably a little bit more unorganised, whereas we seem to have quite a good oiled machine in that. Well, there's 72 of us, so we've got a good slick process. So
is that scary, having that many people thinking if you drop the ball?
Yeah.
Saying that, I guess everyone's kind of, carrying their own weight at this point.
It is scary, I'm not going to lie. Over the last 4 years too, COVID hit, and being in marketing and advertising, it's been a tough gig. And then there was the start of a recovery, and everyone was like, well, yes, everyone's got lots of money and things are going really well in like 2021, 2022. And then after that, it kind of all came crashing down again with various different geopolitical incidents that have come along and thrown a spanner in the works. But I'm hoping there's some green shoots, and new government world maybe just seems to be kicking back into whatever this new normal is going to be. So fingers crossed, it's a good time to be in advertising.
Yeah, no, I couldn't agree more. So how do you deal with the tough times? Because I speak to a lot of business leaders, and they all seem to be just putting the neck on the line all the time, and sleepless nights and all that thing. Why do you keep doing it?
I must like pain. No. I think there's always, for me, the story is I want to get the business to be really successful and be a 10 million turnover business, and then I'll look to step aside, and whether that be a management buyout, me becoming chairman and selling some of the shares off, or a trade sale, if that is the case, that might happen. But yeah, I think having that belief that I've not put all this effort in for nothing, and yeah, you need a bit of luck, but you make your own luck in life. So stressful times, mate, it was easy. I know it's the old cliche, everyone would do it. So I think you need that resilience, don't you? And, you need to just get back up, because a lot of things don't go right and a lot of things can be really stressful. And, I have thought at times, do you just downscale it a bit? Do you sit there and still make just as much money as you're probably making now with a lot less hassle? But I don't think that's what I want. I called the business, I know it's Trunk BBI and I said it today, but it was called Big Brand Ideas. And my mate said to me, why have you called it Big Brand Ideas, John? It's only you at the start. I said, big brand ideas as in the creative side of it, then we want to work with big brands. But one day it's going to be big. Watch it. And I'd worked with a really good MD who got me into private equity and how all of that works and multiplies on businesses. And I think that was the kind of thing from when I set up Big Brand Ideas, I knew I wanted to grow it and sell it one day, or make something that was there and people knew about it. So I did have that ambition, not just to kind of make a load of money and have a family business, lifestyle business for myself. I remember my ex-wife was always like, why are you always investing all this money in the office, new staff? I haven't even got a new kitchen. What are you on about? And it's probably why I'm divorced. But I was always putting the money back into the business. And we're independent. We don't have any investors. Borrowed money through the funding circle.
In hindsight, was that the right thing to do, constantly put the money back into business?
It depends who you ask.
Your own goals, your own ideas, everything. Yeah. The ability to give that many people a job, that's incredible.
Yeah,
if that would have been possible.
No, I don't think so. We would have lost control very quickly. So we're independent. We're in full control of that business. We can manage that business how we want. Mm-hmm. If I want to buy a camper van and stick it on the roof and do whatever we want to do, we're not speaking to a private equity firm at the minute, or when times are hard and we've had some tough times, I've not had to make redundancies. I've just chosen that we make no money instead. So,
I've always thought that. Why is everyone so obsessed with borrowing money to grow a business? I get it. You can do it quicker. You can do it easier, but you lose control.
Yeah, depending on how you do it. I was really lucky to access the funding circle back in 2015. I think it might have been 2016. And I went and filled in this online form. And the next day it said, you've got a 30 grand loan. And I was like, how's that happened? Wow. That's amazing. I wish I'd put a couple more numbers on it. But we used Funding Circle. I think we finished paying off our last Funding Circle bill about a year ago. And it was really easy, cheap money back then that you could access. And it's peer-to-peer lending, so people would see you in a pot, see if they like your business, look at your accounts and everything, and you'd get money, and it let me stay in control and grow out the business. I think, I do regret probably in the end with COVID taking on too much debt, but it was kind of forced anyway through government loans, and we got a C-bills loan for 500k. Cheapest money you'll ever borrow, but when you've got it, you spend it. Trying to grow, and I think we were trying to push probably a little bit too quickly after the pandemic. And I think looking back, if I do look back at any kind of flaws of being a bit entrepreneurial, it is sometimes you might just need to have that counter lever and balance.
Yeah, of course. Well, I'll tell you what, mate, I want to bring this to an end now, so let's finish on a real good high. What are the plans for the future?
Future's going to be bright. We've got some amazing people. We were voted, or our staff voted as a really good place to work in Campaign, which is our industry kind of rag publication. So we finished 20th in the top 100. So we've got great
Amazing.
people. We're a B Corp. We want to work with great clients. We want to deliver value to clients. And I think the economy is looking good. We've got a great workforce in place. So hopefully we're here to capitalise and make 2025 and beyond a great time.
I love it. John, thank you so much.
Nice one, Joe.
Been a pleasure.
Nice one, mate. Take care.